it's always kilocalories. It's just Americans had to call it something else because why not?
That tracks for us. So.
The freedom to get fat. No.
Dadgummit, you're not going to get in between me and my right to get fat and eat as much shit as I can, and then just go from there. I don't know, and then buy a gun. I don't know. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mega Stream number 3. I am your host, Sidney Davis Jr. We are joined by some really fantastic friends here. But first, before we get to the introductions, I'm going to do something that I just learned how to do a couple streams ago, and we're going to listen to the theme song, whether you like it or not. So here we go.
Ooh.
All right. Welcome again, everybody. This is, as I stated earlier, Mega Stream number 3 for July. And with that, I'm just going to let my guests introduce themselves, starting with SR here at the top. Secular Rarity, hit us with it.
Yeah, at this point, I am 230 days clean and sober from meth. I mean, I do atheist stuff online. Your viewers probably know me. I'm here way too much, which is honestly a problem. Like, I probably should do more with myself, just like even go outside at least once.
No reason, honestly. Yeah, I've been out there. It's hot. You don't want to be out there.
It's gross right now.
Yeah, it's gross. We're literally on fire, so you don't need to go outside.
Yeah, and we haven't even made it to hell yet, which is wild. So I know I'll never make it down there. It's too hot here in Tennessee for sure.
What a terrible time. No, I hang out. I talk about God and stuff every now and then. If you want to find me, you sure can, but it's probably not too worth it. So that's about
it. Somebody shows up at your house, you're like, wow, you put in a lot of effort. I'm sorry I don't have more to give you.
And that's true in a couple of ways. So like I have lived at this place now for long enough that I should have a couch. I don't. I don't have a couch, but I only have so this is the thing. It's only it's a small place, like a small little apartment, so it's only got like 3 rooms in it. And then there's this one room that, should have like a couch and a TV or like a dinner table or something. But I figure if I get that, then I have an excuse to invite people over, and it's just, it's quiet. Yeah, it's quiet right now, so I don't know.
I think it's hilarious that you don't have a couch, but you have like $500 worth of MREs in your apartment.
That's true. We were joking about that before.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
It just showed up on my doorstep one day, y'all. No joke. Like, it just literally showed up, and it's 50 pounds worth of it, and it's from one of those hardcore right wing, like when the government comes and takes your guns and everything falls through, at least you'll have mac and cheese.
It's a bigger bucket,
See, the funniest thing about what you just said, SR. The funniest thing about what you said is that you said you like it quiet around there, and that's why you don't have furniture to invite people over. But then you hang out on the internet with us.
I know. But at least I'm the only one that can hear it. It doesn't get broadcast until late at night. That's when I turn the outside speakers on. So.
What he doesn't know is
have you been broadcasting our private conversations?
There's a parking lot.
I think it's Helen's turn to introduce herself now.
Hi. So I am Helen, or Hell's Bells. I am an ambassador for Recovering from Religion. I co-host our RFRX podcast with our friend Cara Griffin, who couldn't be here tonight, and we miss them, so I'm going to send love. I'm also a volunteer with the ACA, host of the Nonprofits, and I just started a new TikTok live show on Tuesday nights called The Queerly Godless Feminist, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern on TikTok. So if you want to come and listen to me babble about atheism and activism and queerness and all the things, come check me out. So that is my intro of who I be, y'all.
And you are also one of the very first people to contribute to my monetized channel,
yes,
which I appreciate.
I want to help Sydney make all the atheist money. That's
Yes.
the goal.
Yes. And anybody watching for the rest of the summer, any super chats that I get are going directly to I Am Dying Out Loud with Dave Warnock. And then in the future, we'll pick a different organization to support with the monetization. So there you go. That's exciting. Well, thanks for joining us, Secular. Thanks for joining us, Hell's Bells. Appreciate having you. Next on my list, I got Godless Granny.
Hello, it is wonderful to be here again. I have a channel where I
If you send $5 or more, I promise for this whole stream, I'll do it. It's a bad call on my part, but I need the exercise. So.
yeah, I just did a stream. I do a stream every Saturday at 3:30, and Secular Rarity was my guest on my stream, and Secular Rarity made that offer, and we just got all kinds of super chats. He really got his exercise today.
I really felt that.
That's amazing. That's so good. Also, Godless Granny's episode of Growing Up Fundie goes live on Monday. If anybody's interested, fantastic. Godless Granny, I have not thanked you enough for that interview. I've been thinking, it's been like living rent free in my head for so many days, just your story and your journey. And I'm so stoked to have you here. I'm so excited that you're part of the crew. So thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Dr. Ben, thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I used to be in a lot more places, but currently I'm a doctor, and it's weird to me still. So I'm working a lot. But when I'm not working, apparently it looks like Richard Gilliver and I are like the only two hosts TikTok Heathen for like the whole month. And then occasionally, whenever I can actually get some time on Thursdays, I'm on the Transatlantic Call-In show, but again, I work. So someday I'll be back on that show when I think in the next couple of weeks, we have one that we're moving later in the evening for when I'm off. But yeah, I'm kind of not here as much anymore, but I'm here tonight. So that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. You're like, I used to stream a lot, but some of us have day jobs. I don't know what the rest of y'all are doing. Some of us are making a difference in this world. No,
Some of us are retired.
I mostly just cry. So because I'm in residency, so I mostly just show up and I cry a lot and then I go home.
You know what? If you want to cry on stream
for 8 hours,
we'll be your emotional support animals, Ben.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to change that. Any super chats that we get are going to go to Dr. Ben to help him stop crying.
Help him buy tissues.
Yeah. Mel Tree Fitty is in the chat. You know, I was just on Mel's show and I had the best time. Mel, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate having you in the audience. Had the greatest time. Can't wait for that episode to come out. And I've been binge watching her show ever since. Just a fantastic time. So if you ever have a chance to be on Mel Tree Fitty's show, hit her up. Perfect. Oh, yeah. And then Dr. Ben's gone.
I'm done.
And then
Dan is gone.
Val.
Happy birthday, Mel.
And Brently.
Hey.
Hit us with it. It's good to have you back.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I do like a little show on YouTube. It's just a live stream where I make fun of FundieTube to turn religious fears into laughter tears. You know, that's the.
You watch some wild stuff, man. I don't know. Like if I catch your stream, man, I'm like, oh my god! But like Brently's watching the crazy shit again. And then I just sit there and do this a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting how much people like talk about demons and like have the whole like system of how they function, what they want, what they don't want. They have it all mapped out, and they, you know, we all need to know about it. So that's
And what's interesting too about some of the content I've seen on your channel, Brently, is that it is wild. When you watch it, you're like, this is ridiculous, but it's also so widely acceptable and mainstream. That's to me, that's the craziest part about it, is like 20 years ago, I would have been watching that stuff and being like, oh, this is great. I'm going to subscribe to this channel. What it does is it like, it's great that we get exposure to it. And it's also like, oh man, like that used to be my jam. Oh, those look good. Yeah. Dr. Ben, those look awesome. But yeah, that's the craziest part I think about the content that you show sometimes, Brently, is that like, it's actually not that hard to find. And it's not that like obscure. It's like, it's just out there existing and nobody else seems to think that's weird.
Yeah, they just act like it's normal, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, people act like it's normal to cannibalize a dead carpenter on a stick from 2,000 years ago. So it's hard to, you know.
Yeah.
There's no line. There's no bar. You know, it's just.
I did not know what you were talking about for a second there, and I was very concerned. And then it clicked. I was like,
Yeah,
that is normal. And then
Communion.
You
Right.
were never
That's
you were
right.
never Catholic.
Yeah. A little rotisserie Jesus, you know. It's all good.
like you guys celebrate zombies with rabbits and hidden eggs, but then you make fun of me for buying more parrots. I don't understand what the problem is.
Oh, I like the
least you're
one
doing
Godless
better than the
Engineer
Royal
came up
City.
with. I like the one Godless Engineer came up with, playing Pin the Jew on the stick.
Okay.
John would
The
say.
opinions expressed in this live stream are not the opinion-
He's not a Nazi. It's okay. It's, you know.
John's got a lot to
I
answer.
said that would be sick if it wasn't Jesus.
right. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, I'm so glad we're on the same page with that.
That's awesome.
And then Alma, thanks for joining us again. Hit us with it. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much. Well, I am right now a co-host with Nuestra Experiencia Tea. That is the Spanish channel. It's kind of like our ethics experience, and we are now reading the Apocalypses. And I need a little bit of drugs to do that, but I'm still trying.
That's how they were written, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Clearly, yeah.
I feel
Right.
like a lot of mescaline was involved.
Yeah, or mushrooms or something, because it's
Something.
weird.
Exactly.
And also, I am volunteering right now with a new channel that is Belief Battles with Mark Brauda.
Oh, that's cool. Belief battles. That sounds intense. That's cool. Is it already on or is it coming soon?
No, it's already on. We
Yeah.
just started this month, but it's going a little bit slow, but it's going.
That's awesome. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for taking your time to hang out with us too. It sounds like you got a lot going on. And I'm so glad to hear that so much of the content that we're sharing here in the United States is also being shared outside of the United States as well, like all over the world. I think that's the most important thing, is that in every language, in every country, on every continent, this kind of content is becoming more popular and more mainstream. So thank you for your part in that. I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's just that that's the reason why we started the channel, because we started to see that most of the fundamentalist material, like their preaching, their apologies, everything was being translated to Spanish, and none of the rebuttals were translated. So that's why we started to doing.
Wow. That's, and see, like, I think I mentioned this to you before, like, I feel bad that I've never thought of that I've never thought of, like, is this available on all, all corners of the world? And so that's awesome. I'm so glad that somebody, like, including yourself, was like, hey, this isn't available to everybody. We should make this more available. I think it's fantastic. And I think you're doing you're doing the Lord's work, Alma. You're doing the Lord's work. Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us. And then John the Skeptic.
Hello. So I'm the British floating circle that sometimes manifests in human form, and it's whenever I'm on streams, people are like, "Oh, he's actually got a face. He's not really a circle." No, I am a human sometimes. Most of the time, just
most of the time.
This is actually the AI version. You really are a circle.
Yeah, that's
really good. And
John, I was just watching your channel before I came on the stream of you reacting to a Prager. Answers in Genesis video about evolution, and I was just like, oh no, it was so bad.
I love AIG for terrible content.
They have terrible content.
So my channel's it focuses on like the everyman. I'm a big dum-dum from the UK that now lives in Bible Belt America. I don't know much, so I like to like point out the silly things that people believe in as like the first step for people who are stepping away from religious belief. And I go, well, this is silly because this, and this is silly because this. Now you want to go and watch some people who know some stuff. Go and research on the YouTubes and find some people who are really intelligent. I'll just get you on the journey. So that's that. There you go. But I'm also a volunteer with the ACA, and I'm a semi-regular co-host on Truth Wanted. That's the one. I know the one.
You can't remember the show that you're on.
And he is the #1 disciple of Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe. Leaf Beauty.
I'm the prophet.
Yes,
the prophet.
I am the one that spreads the word of our good.
Do you have merch yet?
I got loads of merch. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to buy a Lisa t-shirt.
I I sell mugs, and that's the most popular thing. People just buy Lisa mugs all the time. It's brilliant. But so Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her, is the one that pooped the universe into existence. So I'm here to spread the word about the rainbow deity that is.
There's a statue of of a rainbow giraffe outside of like some stores in Virginia near me. So it must be a shrine.
Toys R Us, maybe?
It must be a shrine.
There was one in I went to New York in Macy's Macy's department store in the toy section. There's a giant giraffe in there, and it's Lisa. She's just getting around. So I don't know about you folks, but I think that it could be true that she did poop life into existence.
Yeah. I believe you. I believe you.
I hear
you.
It wrong.
And also this is great news because just the other day, my boyfriend Vince was telling me about his favorite giraffe ever. Her name was, I believe, April. So like we were sitting on the couch and he just goes, I wonder how April's doing. And I was like, who's April? Like, I don't know any Aprils. And he's like, April, the giraffe. And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, oh, well, you can watch her on a live stream. She had a baby. It's everything. She died.
Oh,
no. He looked her up to show me and she was dead. She died.
On the live stream?
Man.
But I don't know. I didn't look. I don't know. He's like, oh no. Yeah. He's so I'm so glad to hear that there's another giraffe we can like shift focus on and and like donate our time.
Giraffe, so she's everywhere as well. She's everywhere but nowhere at the same time. Yeah. I feel her in my heart, but also I do think I got heart problems.
Just a palpitation.
I need to go to the doctor for it, but it could also be Lisa. I don't know.
That's wonderful. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I was telling Secular Rarity, I thought I would have a problem getting people involved in these mega streams. I thought I would be like begging people to join, and you guys are always just ready and willing, and your humor is on point. And I love having you. And you guys get great comments. Everybody loves coming to see you on here. So thanks for donating your time. And just to let anybody know in the chat who may not have heard this earlier, we are now a monetized channel as of literally like last night. So any of the super chats that you happen to send during this stream are going to be donated to I Am Dying Out Loud with Dave Warnock through the summer. And then we always pick like new and different organizations. And at the same time, I don't know if you can see what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Budgement Day merch from our online store that you can access in the comments. And any proceeds from that go to parrot rescues here in Nashville, Tennessee, because I have too many parrots and I was told I can't bring any more into this house. So I have to spend all my money helping the ones that are at the rescue. I'm not allowed to bring any more home. So speaking of which, I do have 4 parrots right here beside me. So if one should make an appearance, don't let it scare you. If you don't like parrots, you probably don't want to be on this chat.
Parrots are amazing. I don't want a bird because I have cats and that would not go well. But I think I think parrots are cool. Like I think I'm birdist though. I only like certain types of birds.
I get that.
Like macaws, fuck them. I hate macaws.
I'm not a fan of small birds, but the bigger the bird, the more I love them.
Yes.
Like, the little ones are so like you don't know what they're thinking. They might just jump out of a bush at you. And like, what's going on? There's a bird. No, big birds, I'm fine with. And big
chickadee, swallow, sparrow, fuck that shit. I'm thinking emu, like cassowary.
If I can't ride it, I don't want it. That's
John's worried that a swallow's going to drop a coconut on his head.
It's happened.
Great.
Yeah, I do have a parrot that recently, from somewhere, still don't know because we adopt a lot of them from other places, learned how to tell me to go fuck myself. So I'm hoping she'll make an appearance and she'll say it on camera. I'm hoping because nobody believes me, but she's right here. So maybe
you gotta for her to say to Jimmy. If he says it, she says it to Jimmy. Jimmy would definitely appreciate it.
I want a duck. I want a duck. Ducks are great.
They actually are.
To have.
They don't talk though. That's like part of the appeal, isn't it?
No, but they're so fun though, and they eat really fast. And like, have you seen the videos of the ducks? Like, where they have a cat that's like eating, and then the duck comes over and just like.
Ben claims that he's working all the time, when in fact,
he's watching
videos on
my thought experiment question is a duck question. So would you rather fight a 10-foot duck or 100 little ducks?
Oh, the little ducks.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. Ever since I read that news story about that lady who was mauled to death by 7 weenie dogs, I've like never trusted.
Serious?
What? I swear to God. Look it up. A woman in Oklahoma was mauled to
Oklahoma.
death by a pack of 7 weenie dogs that
That's
had
terrible.
eaten meth. They had eaten meth and they attacked her and they killed her.
Oklahoma, though.
The sequel to the
Yeah.
Cocaine
He's
Bear
like,
is
Oklahoma tells me everything I need to know.
Of course.
meth wiener dogs.
It was such a disturbing news story. I told literally everyone that I worked with at the time. I was like, "You want to hear the most fucked up shit you've ever heard?" And they're like, "Good morning." This is weird.
Awesome.
So now we're going to transition into yay or nay. And what that is I'm going to make a statement, usually about an opinion or like a social thing or a religious thing. And those who vote yay, raise their hand when asked. Those who vote nay, raise their hand. And then we get an opportunity to explain why it is that we voted how we voted. And so some of them are going to be super duper controversial. Like they're going to divide the room. And then some of them are going to be easier. So let's see. We can start with kind of a simple one. I don't know, though. This might divide the room as well. The first one is watching a movie with the subtitles on counts as reading the book it's based on. So just to repeat the question. And also in the regular chat, everybody who's watching, you're welcome to post your answers as well. I like to post them up. So watching a movie with the subtitles on counts as reading the book. Those who say yay. Oh, God. It's because I'm from Arkansas, isn't it?
That's exactly why. Yes.
Those who say nay. Perfect.
I like
All right. So I only think it counts with the Lord of the Rings because I did try to actually read Return of the King and it was very difficult. Love The Hobbit. I got a 100% on the reading quiz in elementary school when I read that one. It's a great book. But the rest of them, they're tough to follow. He's got his own language he's made. It's very tough to follow. I like the movies. I like the subtitles. I'm just going to phone it in.
We don't need to hear the songs. Like they don't need to write out the fucking songs. I didn't
You just skip the songs, man. You just skip them.
Do that? What is this?
Okay, let me.
Tom Bombadil isn't even in the movies.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
That's true. He's
Because
not.
the plot is going to stop if we go to Tom Bombadil. Because that's what happens in the book. The plot just stops.
Literally
the hobbits are like, we're just going to hang out with this hippie and Mac on his wife. That's the whole
And
thing
you
just
don't get the
stops.
cleansing of the Shire.
That's true. There's a lot missing. There is.
Yeah.
But I think they should do what they did with The Hobbit and make it like 4 movies so that it can be more accurate as opposed to trying to squeeze it into one. Even though what they did with The Hobbit, I still wasn't a huge fan of those movies, but they did. I thought they tried their best. And I know they also had to like wait 15 years for everybody to like sell the rights to the movie and actually give them the opportunity to make it. So maybe they had to keep some like parts out because somebody else owned like those chapters of the book. I don't know. But I'm already feeling attacked, so we're gonna move on.
I feel like The Hobbit, they just need to squeeze down just some of the best scenes, get rid of all the terrible shit, and just some like really good stuff that happened in like 3 movies. It probably lasts about an hour.
See, I want to give my reasoning for why I said no. And the big reason is the atrocity that was the Percy Jackson movie, because fuck that.
Yeah.
That was, you're right, that was trash.
Because they didn't even keep the same villain from the book. Like they changed the entire plot line. Like this wasn't even.
I
the
agree
same
with you
story at
120%.
all.
I'm going to just bring my microphone closer because my wife might hear this, but I spend a lot of time with subtitles on just regular TV because we watch a lot of British TV. My wife's from Kentucky and doesn't understand a lot of what people are saying, so we have to have a lot of TV with subtitles. So that's why I said no, because it just annoys me.
She's from Kentucky and she can read?
Yeah, she's a lawyer. She's a lawyer though, so she's like normal. She's
really smart.
she learned in Louisville, so it's not really Kentucky. Oh wait, I can move this away now. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Subtitles annoy me.
I watch almost everything with subtitles. I'm starting to lose my hearing in one ear, and I miss things. So yeah, I watch everything with subtitles.
So
Me too.
one more thing, there is they did a whole, I watched this video and they did a whole breakdown of majority of people are watching especially movies with subtitles on because films are made for movie theaters. And because of the modern stereo systems that we have in our homes, they don't translate it well. So that's why, like when dialogue is very, very low, it would be at a reasonable level at a movie theater where you could hear it, but at home you can't hear it. And that's because of how everything's recorded, because it's made for a movie theater, not for your home entertainment system. So I was like, oh, that makes sense now. Now I don't feel like so old and then I'm losing my hearing. It's just because, I have crappy stereo systems in my house.
That is one of the most frustrating things for me. And I I don't think this technically makes sense, but I still kind of want it. Like, let's just pass a federal law already that just like normalizes the volume, because it's so frustrating when I have to like crank it up, you know, like 30 extra, you know, notches to hear somebody just say like, hey, did you check the mailbox? Oh yeah, there was that letter in it. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's just like, bah, bah, bah! Like the music just fucking blows my eardrums out. And I'm like, oh my God, why the hell could you just... Right.
Like, you're like, no.
Come on. I don't need to hear that. Like, I get it. It's music.
Yes.
Can I hear what's going on?
Yes. Or when ads are allowed to be like 12 decibels louder than whatever you're watching. Again, I feel like there should just be a standard volume for YouTube videos, standard volume for ads, or like movies on ad platforms. Yeah, because like I love to have the subtitles on for everything. But also I watch a lot of horror movies, and a lot of horror movies are just bad. They're just terrible. And so I like to keep the subtitles on to make sure I did follow and it is just that shitty of a movie. Like to make sure that I caught everything. And it's just like, okay, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but It Chapter 2 started great. It was great for an hour. And then I told Vince, I felt like two writers had like collided with each other in the hallway and like picked up the wrong parts of their script and they just like stapled them together. So like I had the subtitles on the last half of that movie because I wanted to make sure I was hearing them correctly. And that's actually how it was going. It was
That sounds like the Bible.
Yes. Yes. Turns out like two people just collided in some ancient hallway somewhere.
Half of it's like miscongeniality somehow, just like
it's like a dumb orgy. They all just together.
Some guy was like writing the very first like red pill scrolls, and somebody else was working on the Bible, and then they just like collided in the hallway and accidentally created.
Red pill scrolls. Yep. Oh my God, I love that so much.
Yeah. Anybody else want to tell us why they voted that it's not the same as reading the book and why you're wrong? No. Why you're incorrect about that?
Well, I will say the one downside of reading the book and then watching the film is that when you have that knowledge, you will critique the fuck out of that movie. Yeah. So, you know, it's a problem because I'll do it. I will. I'll be like, that didn't happen. That doesn't make any sense. Like they changed this. And then either my husband or my kids will be like, Mom, shut up. And I'll be like, listen, I go, it's bothering me now. Okay.
Like, first of all, it's hell's bells. Second of all, who are you and why are you in my house? No. And here's the thing though. I did learn in college that I very much had a better time if I watched the movie first and then read the book, because the movie would be like, oh, this is cool. This is entertaining. And then when I read the book, I'd be like, oh, there's so much more here. Yeah. But I wouldn't remember the movie being a bad experience. It would just be like added bonus. For example, like one of the best books I've ever read was The Da Vinci Code. I thought it was a fantastic book.
I love that book.
When you try to watch the movie afterward, it's like in fast forward. It's like they are just blowing through half the. Wow. So I had a much better time watching Da Vinci Code first and then surprising myself reading it later.
I did that with Angels and Demons because I read the Da Vinci Code, then saw the movie, then I saw Angels and Demons, then saw the book. And I mean, I saw the book.
You saw the words.
Looked at it.
It was just sitting here on the table.
And you read it. Yeah.
I looked at it.
All right. Fantastic answers. Now moving on to the next question. We're still just easing on in with the easy ones. Beauty is not in the eye of the beholder. Some things are just ugly as fuck.
Wait, is this about everything or people?
It can be, so you can decide. I forgot to mention, you can decide what this means to you, and that's why I like to get people's opinion. So like you can define what you're talking about. You can define for us afterward what your answer is. So I'm gonna say nay. Anybody else vote nay to that? I'm gonna say nay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then yay voters. Okay, so people who voted nay, why did you vote nay?
Because it is in the eye of the beholder.
Even if you do see something as being ugly, that's still in the eye of the beholder. Somebody else might think it's not.
Yeah. Because it's all subjective. It's only when you're filtering through your own, fucking experience. So that's kind of my feeling on it.
Yeah. So like my day job is I teach stand-up comedy and storytelling classes. And even when I hear a joke that doesn't make me laugh, I recognize it's not for me and that somebody will find value in that content. And then we just work on how to make it like maybe a little more marketable or like fix the structure. From like a writing perspective, I help them like create a better punchline for it, but I don't try to change the joke because I recognize just because I don't find it funny doesn't mean it's a bad joke. So that's like where I look at that.
That makes you a really good person. And now I feel bad for answering the way I did because I'm like, well, I'm just answering for me. No,
I don't feel
find
bad about
something's
my
ugly.
answer because
Dr. Ben, you were saying?
I have an argument for why the statement is correct because hear me out. Okay, so if it's subjective, and I would agree that it's subjective, but I'm going to say that I don't know how confident I am, but I'm pretty confident that everything is ugly to at least one person on this planet. And so therefore everything is ugly to at least one person, and therefore everything is ugly.
That's true. If you've spent any time on YouTube, you know that somebody is going to
somebody's gonna think it's ugly.
Yep.
And so in somebody's mind, it exists as ugly, and therefore everything is ugly.
Interesting.
Oh.
Anybody else vote yay or
okay? Here's my question though. Like, like if you hear someone on online, like bitching about like some really hot person like Idris Elba or something, like is he really ugly or are you just jealous and you're butthurt that someone's better looking and you're
that person might not be there's probably more people than just that person who think that person is actually ugly and actually sincerely believe that. So
okay, all right,
yeah. And then there's also that weird
I just worry about trolls because trolls be trolls.
Trolls be trolling.
I think if you were to take anything and put that in front of every single person that exists or ever has existed or ever will exist, at least one of them is going to say, nah, that's ugly. And so subjectively, everything is ugly at least a little bit. And that's why I don't normally become that weird, like,
philosophy major.
Oh, no. I sound like I'm trying to attempt to be SR right now. And you know what? Maybe I spend too much time around him, but
you sound more like J Mike than SR right now.
Yeah. Just use a 3-syllable word every like couple of seconds and you'll basically turn into J Mike. So
yeah.
Well, if you really spend that much time with SR, then I think you deserve some of his freeze-dried MRE food. What do we have? What's on the menu?
I'm surprised he hasn't mailed me them yet.
This show brought to you by Heartland's Finest Powdered Milk. If you thought the number one problem with your milk was how liquidy it was, we got you.
It's too woke and too liquidy. We got your cure ready.
If your milk is too woke, if it's too lefty for you,
I'm really curious how that stuff tastes. Like, I don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
So I've had powdered milk before. Like powdered milk is actually the only normal thing in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that, but like the macaroni and cheese, or I've seen like American chop suey, like, like, cause they're like doomsday. Like we bought some for the hurricane that we went through last year and it's still sitting in the house. Like we're just like, well, global warming's a thing now. We might die or we might lose power. So let's have some stuff. And I'm like, but I don't want to open it and taste it if I don't have to.
Yes. Yeah, at the where is it? The Space Center. Oh God, the Screeny. Where's the Space Center at? We were talking about the museum the other day.
There's one here in Huntsville.
Huntsville, Alabama.
There's one here in Huntsville, but there's more than one.
Yeah, was the one. There's the Kennedy one too. And
that was the one I was thinking of because I bought a freeze-dried ice cream sandwich there. And it was not a good experience. It was not. I could have gone the rest of my life without knowing what that tastes like. But it turns out you can freeze dry ice cream and it doesn't melt.
I had it in elementary school when Chris McAuliffe went up in the space shuttle because I was in New Hampshire and she was a teacher in New Hampshire and it was very tragic.
And it fell out of the space shuttle?
No, the space program donated a bunch of like astronaut food to a bunch of school, to the school program at the time in New Hampshire because one of the teachers went up and like I remember the rocket blowing up and then I had freeze dried ice cream.
I didn't realize it blew up. I was joking when I said like the ice cream fell out.
I was going to say too soon, Sydney. The Challenger wasn't that long ago.
I didn't realize it was the Challenger. I'm so sorry, guys.
It's probably I don't know. I
just lost my monetization the first day that
I think we can make fun of. I think it's been
enough
time, right?
Yeah.
JFK's assassination is good now, right? We can
what?
make jokes about that. Oh no, yeah, you didn't hear about that? Yeah, it happened a while. Yeah, Yeah, sorry to spoil that, but
Sydney, did you know
him
that
and
she's not
Lincoln
real?
actually.
On the grassy knoll, there was like, anyway, I don't want to get into it.
2 shooters.
For real?
4. There's 4 now.
Back into the.
There is 4. I need to get them foiled.
All right. Next question is: I am not 100% convinced that horoscopes are fake. And by that I mean like anything that they claim to do. I don't know everything that horoscopes claim to do. I know they like predict the future or like
I do.
explain why you're a bitch. I know that. Like, oh, sorry, I'm such an Aries. Oh my God. That's why I yelled at that waitress. I'm not an Aries. I think I'm like, I don't remember what I am. I think I'm Sagittarius.
When's your birthday?
November 29th.
You are a, hold on.
Sagittarius.
I know this. What, November 28th. You are a Sagittarius, I think.
I think so. I think so. Yay.
No,
for
you're
if you,
the 28th. Nope, no.
29th.
Yeah,
29th.
29th.
So they added one, didn't they?
No,
Not
you're
super
Sagittarius.
long ago.
You're Sagittarius. And
There was one like added on to it, so now there's like 13 that are trying to vie for our spot.
Listen,
I don't know.
That
You
I
can do whatever you want.
shit.
Yeah, you do whatever you want. It's all fake.
All
So
made up. Yeah.
So
You can be Bumblebee.
That's true. That's right. And so I guess we all vote nay, or does like so nay?
Nay.
I am not 100% convinced. Wait, I am 100% convinced they are fake. So which one's
me
that?
too.
Is that nay?
Oh yeah, if
Yes,
you
nay.
think
Backwards.
that they are all fake, then you would say nay. I raise my hand.
Then
If
nay.
you if you're like
Nay.
I am 100 like I am, raise your hand if you are 100% convinced that they are fake.
Oh no, I'm
Yeah.
going the other way.
Oh, you're going the other way? So,
Yeah.
okay. So who is not convinced that they're fake? Okay. And why is that?
just the way it's worded, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be the pedantic asshole, and I thought John was gonna do the same.
Yeah.
We're
Not
gonna
convinced
take
of
the
anything.
yeah. I'm not 100%
percent
convinced of
I'm
absolutely
close to it,
anything.
but I'm not yet.
Yeah. I'm like, it's like, I think like the most likely answer is that like in the future, like, yeah, I mean, but like, yeah, I'm going to be that dick and be like, well,
That's a Jupiter talking USR. That's trying to make you
that's
logical.
what it is. Well, I think, okay, so I think, I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure like Taurus is in my 7th house or so. I don't know. Anyway, it just,
I can tell you that I am an Aries with a Capricorn moon, and I have an ascendant in Scorpio.
and what does that equal? Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I was never good at math. What does that mean? I don't know what that
Okay,
means.
so it means my outward expression is an Aries, but my inward, my inner world is that of a Capricorn, and the Scorpio influences both. If you want me to go into more detail, you'll be so fucking bored. So I'm not going to do it.
Well, you heard it here. There's a moon, and it's got an
There's
influence.
something.
Does that mean you're trans-astral?
I'm transastral, basically.
Oh.
That's what makes me poly. It's the influence of the planets.
Oh.
And
That
shit.
makes sense, honestly, because I
Sure.
bet most of those planets are like at least bi, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for
I
sure.
mean,
It
I
was-
feel
Capricorn.
like it. They're all kind of just
Yeah.
going past each other, and you know, I think comets are asexual, but that's just I'm not sure. So
No idea. We'll never know.
Yeah, I know they're fake because I work making them.
Wait, really? Wait,
You do?
Yeah, I work for a hotline, and I think it was in 2000, 2005, something like that. And I was the one answering things like, oh, the nature of your horoscope is that you are consistent, reliable, and you have like the reputation of being stubborn, because this is what your moon and Mercury and whatever. I don't know. After that, I
Wow.
was making stuff up.
you need to start doing atheist horoscopes.
Please
you
do.
You need to start.
Please do.
It's just
I
total
want-
magic hat and put loads of words in a hat and just go, today you are
You are
happy.
Exactly. Just make
That
it
would be
obvious
amazing.
that you're just
Like, what-
totally screwing around. Like,
That's
It will be funny that somebody just make a just one of those stitches, and then they say, "Oh, look, she's an atheist and she's giving the horoscope."
clearly influenced by the devil.
Yeah.
The
Clearly.
devil talking.
I mean, they think that that's the case just from being into that sort of thing, right? I mean, it's not like satanic.
It depends on who you're talking to, Brently. Sometimes the Christians are really into horoscopes, so you know.
But here's the thing, also, is like at least you can say, "Look up above," and you can see the thing I'm talking about.
Kind of.
There is a planet up there. Like that's okay. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, okay? But supposedly, and I'm looking into it, okay? Always go do your research, but like it could be the case that the sun and moon are just projections on a very large screen that encompasses the entire
screen.
We've all seen the Truman Show. We know it happens.
It could be. It could be.
I am 100% convinced that I live in the Truman Show. I don't think I'm Truman. I don't think I'm Truman.
And I'm sure that there's everybody on the planet at one point goes, I think I'm in the Truman Show. No, this can't be real.
I think that's why they made the movie, because then we'd all be gaslit into thinking that couldn't be a thing. They're like, look how dumb this guy is for not noticing he's in a show. How crazy would that be? And we're all like, oh, I thought I was.
See, my theory is since 2016 that CERN was doing too many particle accelerations and pushed us into the really bad universe. That is my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Can I prove it? No, but that's my theory.
I swear, I remember in 6th grade, this is totally serious. I remember in 6th grade one day sitting down in a class and my buddy looks over at me and he goes, hey man, you heard about this CERN thing? And I was like, no, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And he goes, man, they're about to make a black hole that could suck the entire universe into it. And I was just like, for like a whole day, I was just like, man, that would be horrible if that happened, you know? And then just literally typed in those letters into the Googles and was like, oh, wow, actually not really even close. But I mean, it was kind of fun living in that world for a day, thinking that at any point in time I could just disappear. Like,
how do we know we haven't been sucked into a black hole?
We wouldn't. We'd be on the event horizon.
That's probably where we are right now.
True, like after the last few years that we've had, like since like 2015, if somebody was like, "Hey, we're about to be absorbed by a black hole," I'd be like, "Thank God!" Like I don't have to do this shit anymore. Do I? Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Why not? You know.
Yeah. So now we're moving in. Now we're moving into like the more heavy hitters. For example, world peace would be possible without organized religion. Yay or nay? And this goes for the audience too. World peace would be possible without organized religion. People who vote yay. I'm like an if yay. I'm like a with parameters yay.
Yeah, I said,
I'm like a yay, but I have like.
I'm gonna be agnostic on this.
And then those who vote nay.
Nay.
Yeah.
And then those who like are like anybody is everybody else like in the middle, kind of like a like
I'm in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you can also look at this question a couple different ways. You know, if you look at it that world peace would be possible without organized religion, you could look at it saying it would be possible if we didn't have organized religion, or you could look at it as saying that even without organized religion, world peace is possible.
So where do you stand then when you read this question? Like, what are your thoughts, Granny?
Well, I would go with the first interpretation, and I still don't think it's possible because people are still people and people are assholes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I say
that's what I go with, Nate.
Yeah,
I
I think
say no matter how you draw it, it's someone's gonna be an asshole.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna have peace with any of the assholes, even if it's just like one or two assholes. There's still gonna be some of them.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was capitalism, like it would be possible without capitalism. I don't know.
Well, and part of
I'd
me
still
thinks,
say no.
Well, a part of me thinks like, oh, maybe it would be closer to possible. But then the other part of me remembers, even when you do your best to meet everybody's needs, they come up with a new reason to be upset. So like, even if we somehow eliminated the difference between like Christians and atheists and like people who follow Islam and like people who follow Judaism, I feel like they would just find another. It's like the Starbelly Sneechers from Dr.
Well,
Seuss.
just look at what's happening with the trans community. Like you have Richard Dawkins, who was like kind of one of the spokespeople of like the atheist community as a whole, and now like he's super anti-trans, and like
which is like
so
ridiculous.
Yeah, so like we have these people that like, and I see this frequently with atheists that are just very racist, homophobic, transphobic.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you don't need religion to be an asshole. And unfortunately, we have too many of those people. And like, if you're following those people, like I'm just gonna say, like, if you're following those people on Facebook or like Twitter and stuff, like stop. Like they are not worth your time.
They're toxic. And you don't need them.
And even giving them a hate follow nowadays is too valuable.
It's right.
It's too valuable.
No, because then you're legitimizing it, and you know, and that's what it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I also have like this is something I always say too is that even if you got rid of religion, doesn't mean people are going to not have whack-out beliefs. Like people that are atheists are anti-vaxxers. You know, I have met people that they've let go of religion, but they think aliens are going to come in and are going to like save the world and that type of stuff. So just because you get I'm sorry.
Hold on now.
Hold on now. So just because you get rid of religion doesn't mean you're not going to get wacko people believing in wacko things. You know, and
you should go watch Spirit Science.
Don't do it. Stop.
Don't. Dude, I have seen a couple of videos and it broke my brain because I used to be pagan, and it was like this new age loopy loop kind of thing to my brain. I was like, oh my god, I remember when I used to believe some of this stuff.
I broke SR
and I have PTSD.
Hour-long video. I broke him and I got video of it and it's great.
Time traveling space Jews. That was definitely the point at which I was like, all right, seriously,
space Jews.
Yeah, there you go. Just put all of those different words and just put them together. Your brain's gonna say to yourself, this doesn't make sense. You know, this isn't right, but it does. Just break each word down into exactly what you think it means and then put it together. And then somehow that comes into this fucking story like halfway through it. And then it's just gone. Like the guy takes 5 minutes to talk about it and then he just moves on. Like I have trauma. I'm working through some things right now, you guys.
He's got some trauma over that.
Dr. Ben, where can I find it to stream it?
I can send you the video.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Well, we should use your reaction to time traveling space Jews.
Yeah, I may just like watch it on live stream and like react. I don't know.
Oh my god,
fun. I'll send it to you.
That's great. That's wild. I feel like at the end of the day, and I've seen some comments in the chat too, at the end of the day, like people are just going to find a reason to disagree with one another and be buttholes and to stop people from enjoying themselves. So maybe I actually changed my vote. I'm going to say I changed my vote to nay on that one. What about accessible? Let's see. Whoops. Let me change it. There we go. Accessible abortion should be considered pro-life.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I was talking to, I think it was Aaron after a live stream a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the ability to let people pick if they want to be euthanized after finding out they have like a terminal illness, they're dying anyway, it's going to be a painful process. And we were talking about how if somebody is truly pro-life, they should be okay with the fact that you decide to terminate your life when you choose. And I've always thought that if you are truly pro-life as opposed to pro-birth or like anti-women, then you should actually encourage the opportunity to have accessible abortion so that people don't suffer, so that the moms don't die, so that children aren't born to live like 13 seconds and then die, you know? And so, yay. Oh, I forgot to ask yay or nay. Yay. And then,
I think we
all
also
convinced me. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you have like an argument, and then did anybody think nay for a reason they want to?
No.
Okay.
I think it's again, like I really hadn't like thought about that, right? Like that thought hadn't necessarily crossed my mind, but I think that's one of the best things, unfortunately, as terrible as this may sound, you got to give it to the bigots and the hate preachers. They can frame the message really well and completely distort the picture.
Yes.
And like doing something like that, and like changing the branding and being like, no, actually, this is what pro-life means.
Yes.
Like that might actually be a good way to combat some of this crap, right? Like that's pretty good.
Because once
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, once you say that you're pro-life, but then you also vote against funding for WIC and for government subsidized agencies that feed people and house people and clothe people, you aren't pro-life, you're pro-birth. You might be pro the creation of life, but once that life is out in the world and existing, you're no longer pro-life. Or like if somebody says that, if a doctor says like this mom is going to die if she gives birth to this child, and you say let her because the baby's more important, that's not pro-life. That's pro-birth. That's pro-giving birth, but that's not the same as actually being pro-life. And I think they don't understand, or they do and they're just ignoring it, that by having like government programs where we feed people and we house people, that's not being mooch. That's literally supporting life and making sure that all lives are taken care of.
But that comes also with a little bit of misogynistic thinking.
Yes.
Because most of the time what I hear is like, oh, well, she enjoyed it. She enjoyed doing the kid. Now she should have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, what about the he that was involved? What about that half of it? Like, did he have a terrible time? Did he tell you that? Did he have just, like, the worst time?
Yes.
Is that how you get out of it? Is that how you get out of like taking care of your offspring? You're just like, hey, honestly, it wasn't that great. Like, it wasn't, I've had
like,
wow.
The best
I remember
way that they could.
No, I've started saying anti-choice instead of saying pro-life, because I always sit there and go, you are not pro-life. Because if you're pro-life, you would be fighting for socialized medicine. You'd be fighting for care for parents, parents able to make a living wage, for be able to support their children, and on it goes. But no, you just want to use this as, broodmares. And I'm like, nope. I'm sorry, you are not pro-life, because you're not pro about my life.
Well,
as I've started using, I just say you're anti-choice.
It was weird too that they were like they're always like all about pro-life and all this, and then they were so like, oh, but we need to be reckless about a deadly disease. Like, how are you pro-life but reckless about it?
Oh yeah,
if
they
they
started to use the my body, my choice to avoid wearing masks.
Right.
What the hell?
So if they want to be honest in their position, what they should do is, because number one, the definitions across the internet are not consistent with what ACOG's guidelines are, and so when we're talking about abortion specifically, like. And I don't get too pedantic about if they're using the term abortion versus termination, because I know colloquially they're used as the same thing. But if you're going to say termination or any type of termination, people don't understand that in induction or a C-section at term, if they're not organically coming out, that is a termination. And so anything that is a medical or surgical intervention that ends a pregnancy is a termination. And there are some terminations that do not result in the loss of life of a fetus. And I think like that's an important talking point for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even so, like, it's an induction of pregnancy. Like you get a live baby at the end of it. And many of those parents choose to keep that baby, and it was still a termination of pregnancy. And so if we maintain that termination, it's just an ending of pregnancy and not necessarily having anything to do with the fetus. Like the most honest position that they could take is, okay, well, if somebody needs or wants to end a pregnancy earlier than the age of viability, what we need to do is then invest scientifically in techniques to keep the age of viability lower. Like, so if they care so much about the fetus, then how about we find ways to end the pregnancy and keep the baby alive outside of the uterus? That would be probably the most honest position that they could take. And none of them are taking that because they don't know enough about the subject matter, and they're just spouting shit that they've heard on the internet and don't actually consider what their decisions are doing.
Yes. And
I remember the early 80s when they were working on shaping that narrative, because when this first became an issue, we all called I remember I was a Fundie then. We all called our position, we were anti-abortion. And I remember when they started telling us, no, you're not anti-abortion, you're pro-life.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. And it's wild because, again, like, you can't claim to be pro-life and then vote against everything that makes life more livable. That's, to me, that says you're pro-birth, that says you're pro-forced birth, that says you're pro-procreation, but you're not actually pro-life, because things would be so much different. If you were pro-life, you'd be fighting to make medical care so much cheaper for human beings that are alive.
Or free.
Yep, or
Or
free.
free.
Yes, yes. You would
I'm
be
from a place.
fighting to make sure that everybody could get an education that allows them to live a life where they are informed about most anything that goes on in this world. You know,
Mhm.
you would allow people who have terminal illnesses to say, I don't want to go the way that this is telling me I'm going to go. I'm
Mhm.
going to pick a date and that's going to be my see you later. But instead, it's no, you have to keep the baby no matter what. And then when it's born, they're like, well, you should have thought about that before you kept the baby. And then they move
Right.
on and then they keep
Right.
voting on stuff. And
Right,
it's wild.
because and
So
and like they've admitted, like the people that do these like pregnancy centers and all this type of stuff, they say that after a certain time period, we don't have to take care of the mother anymore and the baby. They will
Yeah.
cut off funding, cut off support after a certain time. The whole point is to make sure that mother gives birth to that baby. Probably will help them for like the first couple months, and then they're on their own.
Mhm.
So
Oh yeah, I think I told you guys about the story with the pregnancy centers and my friend.
Yeah, your friend at the pregnancy center. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we keep telling them that she was going to terminate the pregnancy just to keep getting stuff, but she was never intended to end the pregnancy. Just was
Yeah.
keep getting.
She
stuff
just
from
wanted them to give her a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Brilliant.
That's wild.
that
Well,
is a good way to trick the system, though. I admire your
Yeah.
friend for that.
yeah, so you're saying if I
Well,
keep
it was
it, you'll give
mostly
me.
me because she didn't speak English, so I was like, "Oh no, my friend is saying that she doesn't want the pregnancy, and she just will nod and agree with whatever I was saying." But
Wow.
Fighting the system and
love
getting
it.
free diapers at the same time.
Yeah.
Basically.
Diapers are expensive
Wait.
as someone that raised children.
We're
I know.
doing cloth diapers in this house because we want to do as much as we can for the environment. So,
Yeah.
Nice.
oh my word, we haven't started yet. The baby's not here, but when he arrives, we're doing cloth diapers.
Yeah,
Ugh.
if I could go back
I
and do
think
it,
you
I
should-
would do it. Okay, no, go ahead, Sydney.
No, continue. What were you saying?
I was just agreeing with John that if I could go back and do it, I would do cloth
Mhm.
diapers and stuff. Yeah, because it was too much of a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
honestly.
literally and figuratively.
Yes, yes.
John, I
Yeah.
think you should test drive one and tell us about
A
it. Give
cloth
us a
diaper?
Oh my
honest
gosh.
review.
I would do that.
Please.
Yeah.
I would absolutely.
on.
I
Yeah.
might.
That way,
If
you know
only they
exactly
made
what the
them for
baby's going through.
Listen, I've lived in the US now for 2 years, so I have put on some weight. So if you can help me find some adult diapers that will fit my now slightly rounder butt, I'm all for it. I'll do it.
Yes.
I thought with the cloth diapers, you just basically took a
Yes.
bed sheet and like wrapped it around
you
like a
could do
sumo
that.
thing. Is
Yeah.
that
Big
not
giant
acceptable?
safety
I
pin.
saw my baby in 3D for the first time today. Look at him.
Hey.
Hey,
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
I told Elliot, when I saw Elliot in February, when we found out that we were pregnant, Elliot knows exactly what's coming. I announced it to Elliot the best way. I know we were talking about abortion, but hey, we're having a baby, so I want to talk about it.
That's great.
I walked up to Elliot and I went, "Hey, Elliot, I'm increasing the atheist population." And he's like, he thought I was talking about my YouTube channel. He's like, "Oh, good for you, man. How many subscribers have you got now?" And I was
Well,
like,
because he'd been growing. He'd been growing like a lot, you know. And
Right,
so I
right.
was excited.
and he's like, "Oh, that's really great." And no, we're having a baby. And he's like, "Whoa,
Whoa! Everybody else sitting in that space knew exactly what he was saying, and apparently, I'm just sitting over here going like, "Yeah, man, I saw you got like 10,000 views on your last video." Blah blah blah.
But here's the important thing, though. Will your baby subscribe to your channel?
When he's old enough to do so.
Okay.
yeah.
Because,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
what if he's an evangelical? Like,
Well,
what if-
listen, we're all non-believers in this house. We have great conversations. My stepdaughter, it says some hilarious things. We were at a wedding on Friday, and I'm in Kentucky, so it's gonna be religious. And at one moment, they all said, "And now let's bow our heads." And so we all like stand there. I've got my head up. My stepdaughter turns around and looks at me and goes,
Nice.
and I'm like, "Good on you!"
My
Good on
son
you.
joined the army, and he told them that he would not pledge his service to God. He's like, "I'm not doing it for your visible sky daddy. If you want me to do it for the country, that's fine, but I'm not pledging my service to your visible sky daddy." And I was like, "Yes, yes, I did. Yes."
That's
Wait,
excellent.
did they make them do that for the army?
You can opt out, but part of your
because I'm in the army.
Oh, you were? Oh, yeah. They asked him if he would, but he told them that he wouldn't because it's kind of a part of one of the speeches that they gave him.
Well, in the oath it is, but it's like not a big deal. Like it's not something that they make you believe. Like
no,
it's just
but he said he wouldn't.
Statement.
No, but he said he wouldn't do it. That was the whole point because it was part of the statement. He's like, I won't do it, and they were like, okay, just say the other part.
They really don't care because it's not a.
That's how they pick who gets deployed.
I admit I omit that part of the British national anthem. I just don't say it because I'm like, why would I say it? So I just say, "Long live the king." Don't though, because I'm not bothered. Yeah. Don't long live the king. Just as long as you need to.
And as long as he's comfortable.
Yeah.
As long as he's comfortable.
I don't mind. You can live long or not. Just get William in there, quick.
It's like
anyway, it's not
as like atheist people who are like actually pro-life. We're like, long live as long as he feels comfortable in the setting, and he's allowed to decide on his own when he doesn't want to live anymore. He can make that decision.
Way worse song, honestly.
It's really
not as catchy. Doesn't fit the tune.
It doesn't. It kind of makes like when you get to your end of your life, like how you want people to remember you. It's like, well, she lived a good life. Hi, Buck. Yes. She lived a good life, and she got to choose when she got to leave. It's not going to be like.
I've always wondered what I would need to be doing in order for people to say the words "she died doing what she loved." I've always wondered. I'm like, I wonder what, like eating, I don't know, like at a bird museum or something. Yeah. Like, I wonder what I would be live streaming.
Yeah. Head to toe covered in parrots, exactly like Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Drinking wine and playing video games
during a comedy set.
Hearing a comedy set would be I died doing my job. She died working, unfortunately. All right. Now, the next question is, being an active member of a militant fandom is the same as being in a cult. So let me just say the reason I put militant is because like just being a part of a fandom in general, like I'm subscribed to like the Taylor Swift Reddit, but I don't think that I'm like a militant Taylor Swift fan. So being a part of like the really powerful, like gatekeeping fandoms for celebrities, singers, video games, whatever, is that the same as being in a cult?
If it's Star Wars, yeah.
Yay. If you vote yay, and then
I vote yay.
And then if you vote nay, raise the hands. Those who voted nay, curious, why'd you vote nay?
Because one of the characteristics of a cult is the way it controls you. It controls, what you're allowed to think and who you're allowed to see. And I don't think a militant fandom does that.
Interesting. Yeah. I like that perspective.
That's where I was kind of coming from too. And then it's like, I guess maybe there's different levels of militant. But even like when you have something that's militant in terms of a fandom, it's not the same level of militant as a cult would be. Like with the way Granny was saying, with the levels of control and how they take over your life. Like I can see like people getting obsessed with things, but I think the level of obsession is different than like control over your life in a cult.
That's true. Like I've never seen a Taylor Swift group where they were also like monitoring what each other eats and like when each other goes to the church and stuff. But like I have seen ones where they're like, oh, this is my favorite song, and everybody dog piles and they're like, no, that's the worst one. How could you think that? And then by the end they're like, oh, I see where you're coming from. But I don't think that's cultish either.
Yeah, I could see there potentially being overlap with some. Like I think if we tiered levels of militant, like I'm sure we could find some fandom that is on the same level as a cult, but I think like we'd have to compare them individually.
Star Wars people, we already ran over this, man. This is Star Wars people.
Star Wars people.
Well, I mean, have you seen
I went over there because of the gatekeeping. It's like you cannot be a fan of this if you don't know every single aspect of George Lucas or whatever. Like,
that's another what Mel pointed out. Because I
think there are some. Sorry, continue.
No, because like from things that I've seen online, and if we're going to use the bite model, to figure this out, there can be a little bit of behavior control if you're not conforming to the fandom in a certain way, that they'll kind of push you out, and there can be some shunning going on. It's not to the extreme of like, we're talking about religious cults, but it can have elements of cult-like behavior within the members, that if you're not completely adhering to things, like, you don't think like this certain celebrity is like the best thing ever. And, and I like, you see that online because people get weird about things. This is why I'm talking about people having wacko beliefs and not believing it's religion. They attach themselves to something, and there can be gatekeeping and control and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I would say cult-like, I wouldn't say cult, but I would say like cult-like behavior. Yes. It can mirror it, but not be it at the same time.
So like, I think that, we were talking about specifics, how like each one might be an example, but the other one may not. I think that followers of people like Andrew Tate, that is borderline culty. Yeah. And even if I think it counts, even if the celebrity isn't directly involved in what people are doing, I think if you're doing something in someone's name and you're doing things based on what you think they would like and promoting them and stuff, I think that counts. So for example, like the Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate side of the internet, I do think is like borderline culty, and people would say, well, Joe Rogan doesn't make them do that. Yeah, but when you also don't come out and tell people to stop, I think that's just as bad, when you're like aware of what they're doing in your name and you don't. But then at the same time, like people who are obsessed with a musician or something, even if they're online bullying people, I don't think that's the same. I think that what makes the other side culty is they change their behaviors, they change their attitude, it changes how they treat certain individuals because of what they were told by the leader, either in a video or a post. I think when they like attack people literally or figuratively based on them not agreeing, like anytime that I would mention that I wasn't a Joe Rogan fan, the number of people who like started yelling because they were like defending Joe Rogan, I think that's what makes it culty, as opposed to I'm a Swiftie, or I love Miley Cyrus, or I love, AC/DC or whatever. I don't think that makes you a cult, even if you are like spending all of your time on the forums, totally obsessed with them, your wall is covered to them. I don't think that's the same thing. So I would agree that like case by case basis is important as well, as opposed to like the general idea. On this topic, Swifties scare me. Yeah,
they are scary.
Yeah, I am a mild Swiftie, but strong Swifties do scare me. I will say that sometimes, on occasion, like the ones that like name their kids after her songs and stuff. It's like, you're gonna name your kid Mirrorball? Like, that's weird.
I kind of want to address Puck's point in the side chat, because like that brings something up that I was thinking about a little bit. Like, for example, with JKR and her like transphobia, I think like that's a similar case to what Puck's talking about, in that like I don't think the people that are like rallying behind JKR are fans because she's JKR. Like, I don't think they have the GC beliefs because they like JKR. I think they started with the gender critical belief, and then they had a famous person that aligned with their beliefs, and so now they could go behind this person who already agreed with them.
Yes.
So I think depending on the community too, like, did the movement come first and then the celebrity, or did the celebrity start the movement? Because I don't think, because JKR did not start the transphobic movement, but she became part of it.
So would you say that if the movement came first, is that more or less culty than
it could still be culty, but I wouldn't call it a fandom. I call it a political movement in that case.
Yeah, like especially with the things like the incel movement, how incels existed before Andrew Tate, before I was about to say J.K. Rowling, before what's his face who I was talking about earlier. But like, yeah, I think you're right. I think
Peterson.
Yes, I think some people, like you said, believe things already and are just looking for somebody famous and well-known to perpetuate that belief and to kind of lift in that way. And then other people are just lost, and then they find the wrong person, and then they just fall down that rabbit hole of beliefs because the person they think is really cool thinks that as well.
Well, I think that, and that's the problem though, because when you have a powerful person that is holding up these terrible ideologies, people are like, oh, I'm being justified to being like a butthead, and being transphobic or racist or anti-Semitic. They're using oh, this person has power, this person has a lot of money, they have influence, so they agree with me, so it justifies my reason for being a terrible person, and that's the problem when we have people like entertain Joe Rogan, JK, I can, there's probably other Kanye, that have these terrible ideas, and they have so much influence and that it inspires people to hate and terrible ideas, and it's very frustrating because
they feel justified. Like example, I have seen comments from Jordan Peterson fans. They say, oh well, he's a renowned psychologist, whatever, he has this degree in this and this and that, and if you don't follow it, it's because you're not smart enough, and I am very smart. So
right, you just didn't get it.
Yeah. Yes. He also claimed to be a biologist, and he's not one. So.
Yes. One of the best conversations I ever had with somebody was they were like, "Have you ever heard of Neil deGrasse Tyson?" And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, really? So you watch Joe Rogan? And I was like, no, I don't watch Joe Rogan. And they're like, oh, well, he's from Joe Rogan. And I was like,
no, he's not
from Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I was
Joe
like,
Rogan made Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Right.
That's
awesome. Wow.
Yes. Is that how that works? He became an astrophysicist because he went on Joe Rogan's show. That's how that works.
That's the only way you can become an expert is to go on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
That was the goal the whole time.
On the other hand, though,
you became a doctor because you've been on the Atheist Experience, right? That's how that works. Right?
Yeah, that's how that works. Yeah.
On
the other hand,
a doctor
though,
so he can be on the Joe Rogan show. That's don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oprah did create both Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, so that is true. And like, isn't that weird? Isn't that just weird?
Yes.
When you think about it, you look back on it and you feel like, man, I feel like Oprah did a lot of things trying to like make the world like a better place. Not perfect, that's fine, but like, at least kind of had that thrust. And then Dr. Oz just ran for Senate. Now he lost.
Yeah.
Democracy does work, but isn't that crazy?
Yeah, Oprah uses the word doctor very liberally. Very. You don't have to be much to be a doctor on the Oprah show.
Well, the thing is, though, is that Dr. Oz was one of the top cardiovascular surgeons in the country. He knows his shit. Yeah. But then he got into weird woo-woo stuff because he allowed someone to come in and do Reiki on a patient during surgery. Right. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, now this must be a thing because it has
some raspberries up your butt.
Also his branch is outside of his specialty. Like he's a vascular surgeon. Like he doesn't do other medicine. Like you're not an infectious disease specialist, you dumbass. Like stay in your lane.
But you know what? It's because it has been very profitable for him. So that's another component that makes me wonder if he really believes that, or it's only the money.
He does.
He always was stupid rich, and I think his kid is a doctor, also super, and that's a trend you see, especially with surgeons, which is why I don't trust a lot of surgeons. Like the nepotism in surgery is ridiculous, because in order to get the scores needed to match into surgery, you need so many extra resources, and like because you can't even pass your boards without outside resources. Like the stuff you get in school is not enough, and so if you have somebody who's like a first generation or who's an immigrant or who had to work to get there, and they're having to like one of my friends he's a psychiatry resident at Duke, but he's a immigrant from Bangladesh and he's trans, and he was working a little bit through med school. It's like, I don't know how the fuck he was able to do that, but like he had to put a lot more work into things. And like these people that had everything like spoon fed to them, like, yeah, you're going to have all the resources to go get tutoring and get all this stuff, and then all those people match into surgery, and it's like, okay, cool.
Dr. Oz did a lot of networking. Like he was a brilliant surgeon, but he also did a lot of networking and connecting.
Well, he's also a lot of that. No, it comes with being fucking rich. Like there's
he had the money to do it. It was because Daddy gave him the money to be able to do that and influence and stuff like that. So it's a combination of like, he knows his shit. And one very particular thing, but also on the other side of it, like he had his daddy to help him. His daddy was also telling him, like, you need to succeed. You need to succeed. You need to succeed. So there's also that psychological trauma to go on top of that. So
what you're saying is, if I want my kids to be rich, successful surgeons, I have to be a surgeon first.
Right.
Well, you just have to be rich.
Basically,
you just have
Oh,
to.
that-
No,
It's
I
kind of like
don't think
it's kind of like
a surgeon. I don't think his dad was a surgeon. I think he just had a lot of money.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like getting a
rich.
credit card. You have to
Yeah.
have credit so that you can get a credit card, but you can't get credit unless you
because
have
you don't
and
have
it's
a
not
credit
saying
card.
that- and that's not saying that you can't be from those minority groups and become a surgeon, but it's way harder. Like it's
Yes.
way more difficult. So the amount of work, like
Yeah.
if you have a
Mhm.
surgeon who is a minority, like the amount of work they put in probably 10 times the amount of work to get to that place than like
Right.
the rich white dude did.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
if you
wild.
remember, like the university scandal that there was with that actress, that she paid
Yeah.
for her kid to have
Oh,
like
yeah.
those pictures taken. Like he was, oh yeah, she's into sports.
There's a
And
couple of them
she
that
was
did
like,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And now they're in prison. So
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
that's wild to me.
yeah,
It's like
but
you have
because
to
they got caught, but there was a lot of people who didn't get caught.
True.
right. You have to like it makes you wonder how long this has been going on, because if they
Mhm.
figured out how to do it and they did it, surely they were recommended by somebody who recommended somebody. That's wild. And like how many celebrities kids pretended to be on the rowing team and stuff like that in order to get an education. That's bananas. That's
Wow.
just absolutely wild.
I will say
Meanwhile-
though, Dr. Phil did give us one of the greatest moments on daytime television. You remember, I don't know what her rap name is now because she is a rapper, but the young
Cash
woman
Me
who
Outside.
Cash Me Outside, and then when the audience starts laughing and she's like, those hoes just laughing, and Dr. Phil looks at her completely seriously and goes, you say the hoes are laughing at you. You say the hoes are laughing, and it's just he's just completely sincere and honest, trying to understand. And it's just like I don't think you get what's going on, man.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
way over your bald head. But
He's an old white
Yes,
racist
Yeah.
man. So like, don't.
The one that I did enjoy it with Dr. Phil, the moment that I enjoyed it with him was when do you remember that guy from who was making homeless people fight?
Yeah, that guy was the
Yes.
worst.
He was on yes.
Yeah,
The
but he was
worst.
there, and he went.
John, you
instead
have
of
not
Dr.
absorbed enough
Phil.
American television.
Where have I moved to?
it's a bad place.
I do want to address one comment that I think is a good one to address, and that's from Puck. As much as we don't like other people passing their advantage to their kids, wouldn't we all do the same thing for our kids? Give them every possible advantage they can. Yes, but there is a big difference between giving them the resources they need to succeed versus giving other people like money or things like that in order to make your kids succeed, if that makes sense.
In the broken system that prioritizes certain people over other people.
Yes. Yes. So like, for example, if I had a kid, I would do everything in my power to give them an advantage in life and to give them what they needed to succeed. I would not do anything illegal. I would not collude. I would not pay off people to include them. I would not try to step on other people in order to like shoehorn my kid into, like, I would still make my kid work for it, but I would give them, like tutors in school. I would, maybe help them get scholarships. I would teach them. So for example, my mom taught me from a very young age that I was expected to go to college and I was expected to get enough scholarships to cover it as well. So I did things like debate. I was in theater, things like that ended up paying my way through school. So she taught me what I needed to know, and she taught me how to apply for colleges, and she was there for me. She took me to tournaments and things like that. She supported the things I was doing in order to succeed, but at no point did she help
Paid
me
off
bypass any
Right.
levels.
It's about
for
giving.
me.
It's about giving the resources rather than the
Yes.
easiest path.
Yes,
and
exactly.
for the med school thing, like we have to fix our broken system of
Yes.
you should, if you are in a program to get a degree and to use that degree to get a job, you should have all the resources necessary to succeed.
Yes.
Like you should not have to get external sources in order to pass the exam. You should have the amount of residency spots available for everybody that's graduating. Not saying that everybody should get the top level spot, but you should have a spot for everybody graduating. And because you can't practice in the US without a residency. So if we have 8,000 physicians every year that don't get a residency spot, and like you're fucked. You just spent,
Yes.
you're probably like $200,000 to $400,000 of debt, and you can't do anything with it until you get a residency spot. So like you need the bare minimum at least available to you to where you can at least do something with your time and build up your application for the future if you're trying to go for surgery or something like that. But like it's ridiculous that like it's so dependent on you doing things outside of the program. Like I'm in the military, so I'm active duty in a residency, and I still had to pay for my board exam that's coming up, and it's like $1,000, and the Army still hasn't paid me yet. So like I had
the law is like that too. After I finished law school, before we took the bar, first you had to take the ethics exam. Then you had to take Barbary, which was another course to prepare you for the bar exam. And they said, we really do not recommend that anyone take the bar exam without first taking the Barbary course. So you took that course, and then after that, then you took the bar exam.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to address this comment too. Puck says, so if, for example, a $1,000 donation to a private school or program would give your kids access to an advantageous education and additional resources, you wouldn't do it. I say that's what tuition is for. If your kid does not test into that school, does not have high enough grades or high enough scores for that school, I don't think you should be able to pay $1,000 to get them in. There's a big difference between paying the tuition necessary to go to the school versus paying to get accepted into the school. Big difference. Yeah. So if my kid's tuition was $1,000, I would probably pay the $1,000 if I had it. I would still want them to earn scholarships and things like that. But if my kid did not make it into the school in the first place, and I was like, what if I pay you $1,000? Can they come? I would not do that. That's where it becomes toxic.
Because then you're not getting your kid on a merit. Like, my kid's going to pharmacy school. They had a test in. They had to prove that they're going to be able to do the rigorous coursework that was going to be that. I'm sure Ben had to do the same thing. And that's the thing, because you have to show that you are able to, you have the smarts enough and the discipline to do the work. And if you have a parent that's just going to pay off some school board, these board directors for $1,000, and they're saying like the kid will not be able to do the program, and their grades are subpar, like they're like a C student, that's not fair to the A+ student that comes from a middle class family and is working their ass off. They are not going to get into the program because mommy and daddy aren't rich. And that's not fair. It's not fair.
Right.
And like we're paying tuition. That's why we pay tuition for our kids to go to school, or we have scholarships and grants and all that stuff.
Alma?
Also the damage that creates this kind of nepotism is that you end up with professional people that has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Especially in like surgery and things like that. Like I want the person who's doing surgery on me, I want them to have had every resource necessary, in order to do surgery on me. I don't want it to be because their dad also helped them get that job, like
there was an interesting one recently, like in this past match cycle, because you have to match into residency, and there's one person that was like bragging about getting into this certain ophthalmology program, which ophthalmology is pretty competitive. But the kicker for this was that she had matched into the same residency that like her mom and dad are both faculty at. Like that's a problem, because who got stepped on for your kid to get into the program with you? And also in the residency, like you have to meet certain criteria in your residency to graduate. Like, are your parents going to be able to be objective enough to fail you if they need to fail you? Like, are you held to the same standard as all of the other residents in your program? Like I have so many questions. There's a huge conflict of interest. Like you should not be allowed to have family members in your program. They should have to go to a different program.
Yes. And I also, and on that, in that vein, I know that, so I'm getting my master's, and I know that at some schools, if your spouse or your parent works there, you can go for free. And I don't think that in itself is a bad thing. I think if your grades are allowed to slip more than everyone else, if you're accepted into a program only because your parents work there, as opposed to earning it, and then once you get there, not having to pay tuition because your parents work there, there's a big difference between you don't have to pay because your parents work here versus you got in and you're staying in because your parents work here. Big difference there.
Which leads to us to affirmative action.
Ooh,
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I do.
yeah.
I'm all
I'm in
for
support.
affirmative action.
Yes.
But
Yes.
me
it
too.
does give a leg up to people who started from a disadvantaged position. And
Exactly.
I know that I have a certain relative who complains loudly because her white sons didn't get into Carnegie and a lot of minorities did, even though her sons had the same grades as the minorities who did. And she felt like her sons were discriminated against. And I don't agree with her, but it is a similar thing. We are letting in people who did not score as well, but I think there's a time and a place for that when the person starts from a disadvantaged position.
Well,
Yes.
but also I
And-
don't think the grades are the only thing that they're looking
Right.
at. Like I like
No,
the
absolutely.
holistic model of like taking applicants, like, and it's the same. Med school is going in that direction too, because people are learning like, hey, yeah, you can have the best scores, but you're a shitty human and you shouldn't be taking care of people, and you need to be a good person. We have to verify that you're going to be an honest person, that you're going to do the right thing, and that you're going to work hard and all these things. And yeah, you can have great board scores and like great MCAT and stuff, but like if you don't know how to be a person, then you shouldn't get a leg up. Like, and
Yes.
I like that
Yeah.
they're putting more emphasis on
Know how to
like,
be
so
a
the
person.
for us, like GPA and MCAT still mattered. But if you have people with the same scores, you're going to pick the person whose personal statement has things like, I worked with people, like I have people that gave me letters of recommendation that says that I'm like, I did all these things very well. I'm a good communicator. I can interview well. I can, I have this research under my belt. Like I have all of this stuff that I worked for. And they ask you, even like if there's something on your application that's like not, it talks about like if you're from a like disadvantaged position, like you can talk about that in your personal statement and in your interviews, because they'll ask you about it. Like, yeah, like you came from this background, like share about how you like overcame things in your life, or like how you handled these kinds of situations, and like they take that into account. And so I kind of like the way that that's going. And so people can whine about, oh, but we had the same scores, but what else did you have in your application? Like maybe this person with the same score as your kid did a lot more, and their resume is impressive. Like there are people I know that I went to med school with that like maybe they didn't have the best like med school GPA and stuff like now for residency applications, but like they had a PhD already. They've already like done other things. Like they've had careers, like some were teachers beforehand, like some have full families, like some had like one of my co-residents like is in his 40s, and like he's been in like this is now his third branch of the military he's been in. Like he's like people have had like other lives. And so I think like when we're talking about affirmative action and things, it's like it's not only about the scores, like it's factoring in the entire person. What does this person bring to our program? That because like you can only have so many cookie cutter people apply to a program, and like we don't need any more cookie cutter doctors. Like for Alma would probably weigh on like something that's been really important to some friends of mine is Latino representation in medicine. Like there are so many people that don't feel safe with their doctor because they don't understand the cultural background like that they've gone through. Like that's important. Like having all kinds of people of different backgrounds is important for medicine. And even if you say, well, this doesn't affect me, well, no, it doesn't affect you, but it does affect these other people, and we need that in medicine.
And just
exactly.
No, you please.
Working as an interpreter for medical has been like really important, because that's when we can apply what we know. Like I know that they sometimes people like to take remedies, like to take teas and stuff. So I know that I can tell the doctors stuff about that and why they are doing it, so the doctor can understand where are the person in front of them are coming from.
Yeah. One of my co-residents is originally from Venezuela. And he's going to bring some really cool things to this program. I'm excited.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think diversity is always important, not just for the pictures that you put online for your school or whatever, but for thoughts, for ideas, for experiences. If I'm in a room full of people that were that they all went to an Ivy League school, they were legacy. All of their parents went to an Ivy League school. They even were part of the same Greek fraternity that their parents were in. I don't think those are dumb people, and I don't think those people don't deserve to be there. But I do think the scope of information will be very limited, even from white person to white person. I grew up a single mom in Arkansas. I'm going to differ from those people because I don't understand them and they don't understand me. I think when people say like, oh, my kids had the same grades as those kids and they got in, one, prove it. It's like who showed their grades and we're like, haha, I had the same grades as you and I got in because of affirmative action or whatever. Like nobody's doing that. Like prove it.
Right.
But two, it's like diversity is important for so many reasons other than just looking good and like getting government money. It's important for perspectives. If we didn't have anybody from foreign countries in our medicine programs, we wouldn't know how to treat people that came from other places. We wouldn't know what to look for. And even if it's a literature program, I still think having teachers that are from different cultures and backgrounds and races, having doctors, having people in our government that are from different places, having people that work at a grocery store that are from different places and might be able to use another language to communicate with their customers. I think that's so important. And when we narrow the scope to who are the richest, who are the most able to get in, we're doing a disservice to us. But it's easy to look at it and say, like, stomp my feet. My kids deserve to get in there, but they keep bringing all the people of color in there. It's like, good. Hopefully your attitude isn't
I think also too, it's like, well, okay, like your kid didn't get in. And, you know, let's just say that, you know, let's just do a thought experiment and say that, you know, you have a person of color and the white kid, and they have the exact same scores and the person of color gets in. Why are you mad about that? Why are you mad? It's like you've had a bunch of privilege, you know, and I'm like, and I don't think people appreciate how much harder people that are different than the white people in this country have to work to prove themselves. And I don't think people really get that, because all I've heard from people that I know that are people of color, my friends, is that I feel like I always have to show up and do more just because I look different. And I am, you know, and I said, that's the point, because it should be based on merit, but we can't do that.
Yes.
You know, and now we have to do it on, you know, this arbitrary crap, you know, but at the same time, it's like, why does it bother you? You try again, you try again, you know, you don't get it the first time, you try again.
And
or you can go somewhere else.
Or go
There are
somewhere
other
else,
good schools too.
Yeah.
Right. And also I think the definition of privilege has been skewed on purpose by certain sides of the media. For example, you know, I grew up single mom in Arkansas. I have a brother. My dad died when I was like a year old. And like, when I talk about privilege, people are like, you didn't grow up privileged, you worked your ass off. But when I get pulled over, I'm never worried about getting killed by the cop. I'm never worried. I've never been to a grocery store where I felt like people were staring at me, seeing if I'm stealing just because of the color of my skin. I've never had to even think about that. Didn't even know it was a thing until like 10 years ago. So people mistake privilege meaning money, and they don't understand what we're trying to get across them is they don't understand the privileges they exercise every single day that are so inherent to them. They don't have to think about it, you know, like those are the privileges we're talking about. Like, yeah, I did not grow up privileged, but I exercise privileges on a daily basis that other people don't get just because of how they look. Nobody crosses the street when I'm walking on the same, like the opposite direction of them on the sidewalk. 0 people cross the street. I've never once had a woman turn around and look at me scared when I'm walking behind her in the dark. Never once, you know? And so people like, they want, like Fox News wants us to think they're pretending we're all rich and privileged and we struggle, we bootstrap, we go uphill both ways. Stop that. And it's like, no, it's a privilege to be able to get on TV and say what you're saying without having any consequences. Like that's a privilege you exercise every day. And it's just wild to me. SR, were you going to say something a minute ago? I think
kind of. I mean, pretty much everybody has touched on it, but when you look at the numbers, truly, again, this is not a feeling. It's not oh, maybe we're not sure. But like when you actually look at it and you see the amount of cishet white guys, right, that are applying for the top tier of colleges, right? We're talking the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, right? They're almost guaranteed, if they don't get into that one, to get into another fantastic college. And again, it's not just making that up. It's like we have seen the track record. And so because yeah, okay, So you didn't fucking get Harvard, bro. Like, damn, that sucks. But you know what you did get? You got one of the other schools that is literally like 2 steps below Harvard. You know,
like
whereas
Yale, or
unfortunately, when you look at those numbers from a bunch of different demographics, you will find that the likelihood of them getting into those other better schools just plummets. And so if that's the case, if that's where we are, then yeah, like we have to look at the overall harm that's being produced.
Yes.
And if at the end of the day, the overall harm is that a 4th-generation legacy can't fucking go to Princeton.
Which they only want to go to these places for the status symbol anyway. Like, what are they gaining in their career based on which school they go to?
You'll be absolutely fine in the other schools. They are wonderful colleges, and those colleges need all the support they can get because education funding in the US is crap. So go to the college that's, 2 rungs below the top. You're going to get a phenomenal education, and the money that you give to that school will go so much farther in helping your child and the other children there. Like it really does just overall make it a positive.
Like it always confuses me, like living here, that don't you want your populace to be educated and in good health? Do you like that makes sense? Like, because we're competing on a global. Okay, if we're competing on a global scale. Okay, all you capitalists. Okay, out there, all you damn capitalists, you're out there saying like we need to compete on a global scale. We need to be number one, and we need to be the motherfuckers that destroyed the world. Okay, great, good for you. But then you want your populace to be educated and healthy because that makes us competitive. That makes us work. That makes
but that makes you vote
but also the educated people is more difficult to convince. So
I know, but listen, I go in my brain. It makes sense. You want this for your populace.
You're doing this thing. Your problem is you're doing this thing called thinking. That's something that
it's all that college I went to.
That's something we don't support here.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Logic has no home here. I forgot. I should have said something up top.
Sorry, I forgot to take my brain out and be the brood bear. I am so sorry.
How dare you to bring logic to God?
I know. How dare I bring logic to an atheist podcast? How dare I?
All right. And then this next question is probably going to be the last question so that you guys can have your evening back, unless somebody poses a really good question in the chat. Post questions in the chat, folks, if you want. But this one, it might divide us. I feel like we're getting along really well. It might divide us, but I just think this is the energy we need to close the show out with. So, Harambe would be disappointed in what the world has become. Yay or nay?
This is the best question of the night.
Yes.
Also, I can vouch for Puck wants to have a conversation with you sometime, and I can vouch for Puck.
Yes.
I'll vouch for Puck too.
SR vouches for Puck. Yes. Hell's Bells vouches for Puck. Puck, you're a friend. You're a friend on this channel. I would love to connect.
We're gonna make it happen. Check your Facebook.
Yeah. Check your
Who
Facebook.
or what is Harambe?
Harambe is, I don't know if you remember a few years ago when
I just had to go look it up.
Yeah, when the little kid fell in the monkey pit, and
the gorilla.
Monkey, even though the kid was okay. That's Harambe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it a Cincinnati Zoo as well?
I think so.
Which is like my local zoo.
So do you? I mean,
had you been there that day, John, it would have been freaking awesome.
Right? I would be like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Does the ghost of Harambe?
It was the Cincinnati Zoo. Google is your friend. All.
It was.
I feel like Harambe singularly made everybody aware that there's a zoo in Cincinnati.
There you go.
Yeah.
I feel like he wouldn't.
Yeah, I think
because
he would be disappointed.
I'm going to be pedantic and probably hasn't got a clue or wouldn't have had a clue what was going on.
Yes. I think he'd be disappointed. I think he had a different vision for how we were going to go, and it just didn't go that way. I think he also had a vision for how he was going to go, and it probably wasn't the way that he went, to be honest.
He died doing what he loved.
I feel really bad for Harambe because there's a zoo in the UK where I used to live, and they had a gorilla.
Is that where you actually
lived in the zoo?
You live in the zoo?
Yeah, I used to live at the zoo. Yeah.
Oh,
They let me out and put me into this country, and now everybody observes me here. So they had an island for gorillas, and the gorillas had their own TV. They had their own TV. I feel like Harambe would have been disappointed not having a TV.
Yeah.
So it's
It
the
turns out
Lion
he had a
King
lot of
on loop.
opinions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
like
was-
nobody just asked him. Nobody ever asked him.
Didn't Coco get her own TV?
Coco got her own cat at one point, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
Right.
She
She
had
faked
a little
sign
kitty. It
language.
was the
Oh, yeah,
cutest
they
thing
had
ever.
Yeah.
She was
I'm
in that
afraid
movie
to Google it.
Congo.
Ever since the giraffe thing, I'm afraid to Google it and find out like all these animals I care about have died since. I know that Coco and I know
Yeah,
her.
don't go. Don't
Yeah,
This
well,
is-
Coco died of old age. Like Coco
This
did.
is it's a really weird fact, you guys, and please like check me on this, but every single animal I have ever known has died. Like every single one of them, just
You
like
know,
across the board.
listen,
I'm not saying
sure.
by my
I can,
hand.
I
I'm
can
just
help
saying
you
like,
there. I can help you there, Elliot.
Did you
There's
do that?
There's one animal that will never die. If you put your faith in Lisa the rainbow giraffe, I'm just
Leaf be
saying.
upon
I'm just
her.
saying.
Yeah.
leaf be upon her.
You
You need like a symbol, you know, like the Christians do the cross
Yeah.
or something. You need like a leaf or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you?
Someone-
I'd be willing. I'm not willing to
Yeah, the
abandon
neck.
my
Brentley's
cult
like,
for
we have to
your
do a neck
cult,
thing.
but I would be willing to adopt your deity into my cult as
Okay.
well, but I cannot abandon my other deities.
Which
Fair
one
enough.
is?
There's got some.
They
Lisa the
can't
rainbow
all be
giraffe
real.
ate all of the other deities. That's
No,
that's
no, you
Alma,
can't.
Alma has an
Come on,
idea
guys.
for
One of my
Sorry.
deities.
We don't
is
need
literally
this
the
wars
essence of every parking lot on this planet, so you can't eat all of the parking lots. That's silly.
Hey, maybe you can.
Alma,
I
were you
have
raising
good
your
parking
hand?
karma.
Oh no! Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the.
I saw you raise your hand, so I was-
Yeah, I apologize. I was waiting.
So we all agree then Harambe would be horrifically disappointed.
Yes.
If
Yes.
he understood.
Yes,
yeah.
Very
would.
sad.
Yeah.
I'm actually glad he's not watching us from above, to be honest.
Yeah,
because
this
Well,
was
he might be. He might be.
Is there a
be.
gorilla heaven?
We don't know.
Is there a gorilla heaven?
there needs
We
to be a
can't
movie
prove
All
there
Gorillas Go to
isn't.
Heaven.
All gorillas
We
in
can't prove that there isn't a gorilla heaven.
That is
so-
true.
And it is
If
our
it's-
burden to prove that there is not gorilla
Yeah,
heaven.
it's
That's
on us.
If it's
How it
gorilla
works,
heaven
yes.
and it's kind of based on the Islamic version,
Whoa.
hang on, just
No,
listen,
no,
just
no,
hang
no,
on.
No.
Do gorillas get 72 green bananas when they go to heaven? Is that how that works?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, see? It
Oh,
took me a
maybe.
second
Likes
to
the
get
green
there, but I
banana.
made it.
No
the
one likes
opinions
green
expressed
maybe-
in this live stream are not the
You know,
opinions
maybe-
of
I'll see
Growing Up
myself
Fundie.
out, you guys.
Maybe
Thanks so much. It
animals
was a good-
do know there's an afterlife, but we can't ask them. Like they know, but you can't ask the animal because you're not speaking the same language. I mean, the
Well,
dolphins. know.
I got one that can
Same.
tell you some stuff,
If the dolphins are going to heaven, we're fucked.
That's right.
literally and
So
figuratively.
long.
Yeah.
Thanks for all
And
the
yeah,
fish.
because the
Bye.
dolphins are rapey. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, I
Put it in
definitely
your
have
blowhole.
animals. Say what?
I said they'll put it in your blowhole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
think
definitely
killer
have
whales
animals that
have
can
it
tell
right.
you.
I think killer whales have it right. Like you
Yes.
know, they're
Yeah, they
the
keep sinking boats, and that's awesome.
they can't they
That is
sink
punked
yachts.
out.
They're like fuck y'all.
I've always been really afraid of ideas like animals being able to speak or like developing technology to help animals talk because I'm always terrified that animals we've lived with for years are actually like raging white supremacists or like racist or whatever, and we've just never been able to speak to them, so like we don't know. Like I don't want to know my dog's political opinion. I don't want to know what she thinks about like human rights in this country. I'm just cool just feeding her and
I'd
letting
be
her
more
sleep in the bed.
concerned with what my dog thinks about me naked when she's walked in on me in the shower where I haven't shut the door and just like stood and looked at me and gone, "What's that?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
like,
walked
whoa,
off, like,
What a
"Oh,
weirdo. Look
that's
at that.
Yeah.
weird." Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's why I never have political conversations or religious conversations around
Or
my birds
you
because
can
I
have
don't want them
cats
to know
watch-
those words.
Or you're gonna have cats watching you poop.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And judging you.
If my birds never learn offensive language, they'll never be able to use it to tell me how they feel. They'll never be able to agree
That's
with
right.
it. So,
That is
yeah.
true.
So, well, guys, I really appreciate you being here. This has been a ton of fun. I've linked many of your channels and shows and things in the comments, but if you have links you want to send me, I'll add them right after the show. I can add them as far into the future as you want. But everybody, take a look at the faces you see here. If you've had a great time, please subscribe to their channels, show them some love, send them your support. And we do these live streams once every month. I'm actually going to start doing them twice a month. We're always going to have the Saturday one, but now we're going to rotate a weekday just to see like who's available and if that time works good for the audience. But thanks for joining. Once again, we are now a monetized channel. So if you ever send a super chat for the remainder of the summer, that is going to I Am Dying Out Loud with Dave Warnock. If you buy any of our Budgement Day shirt, which is linked in the description, that money goes to help save parrots who say a very offensive things to me when all I'm trying to do is clean their cage. And then, yeah, and again, please tell them how much you liked what you saw tonight. Follow, subscribe, like, hit the little bell so every time they post, you get a notification. And with that, we're going to say bye. We're going to end this broadcast.